let's talk a little bit about India, Hemant. You are here and you're going to be touring India for the next few days. I want to understand from you what gives you confidence, what gives you hope and optimism about the India story, and what the India portfolio for you looks like.
We are incredibly excited about the opportunity in India. First of all, if you think about the last few years, there are many proof points of great companies that have been built. India has done a terrific job of developing platforms in a way that they actually spur innovation and ecosystems, starting with UPI and Aadhaar. And when you think about the geopolitics of it all, and I've written about this recently with Fareed Zakaria, we think the US-India corridor is incredibly strategic, and it's going to create a lot of value when it comes to innovation and technology. And our perspective is to bring a lot of the learnings we have had in our core areas of focus to India, help build companies here, learn from the innovation that gets created here, and then bring that back into the US. And I think that innovation cycle is going to be spectacular over the next 10 to 20 years.
So what is that going to mean in terms of the kinds of bets that you intend to make? You gave us an example of the fintech space where really I think it would be fair to say that that Indian companies have taken the lead today. But which are the other spaces that look exciting for you to experiment with, to invest in, and as you said, take the India model and take it outside of India?
The four areas that the firm is really focused on are AI, as we discussed. It's around fintech. It's around health care. It's a thesis called Health Assurance in the United States that we've been working on, and resilience. And our goal is to bring a thematic perspective to these areas and invest in India with a long-term perspective of how we drive the digital transformation of India. We think there is a significant opportunity in climate, in ag tech, as well as in software to build terrific companies here that create local supply chains, local opportunity, local workforces.
Okay. Any pause at this point in time as far as funding is concerned, or are you continuing to sort of look at opportunities that look exciting at this point in time and put your money there?
We're absolutely looking at opportunities. We take a very long-term view when we think about our core areas of interest. And the short-term dynamics of markets really don't deter us and shouldn't deter anybody from investing in innovation here. The long-term promise of what's to come here over the next 10 to 20 is extremely bright. And as you know, the companies that end up taking advantage of that promise over the next decade are the ones that are going to be built today. So we think it's a really exciting time to be investing actively.
Okay. Just to talk a little bit about the India portfolio, and I know that you're telling your portfolio companies and your portfolio founders not to sort of replicate the playbook of the Valley and to learn from those mistakes as well. But how much of a correction do you believe that we're likely to see in the Indian startup ecosystem as well on the back of what you're seeing within your own portfolio companies? I mean, staggering losses continue for a large number of these companies, albeit they might be valued as unicorns today. How much of that do you believe is likely to change? How much consolidation do you expect? What kind of a deep correction do you anticipate from where we are today in terms of valuation?
Look, unprofitable growth is a bad idea. It doesn't matter if it's an up cycle or a down cycle. I think, in this relatively capital-constrained environment, the companies are getting more disciplined. I fundamentally think that's a good thing. The fact that these companies are not growing as fast as they were is actually the wrong way to look at it, because we should be thinking about how they are growing more profitably than before. So the long-term opportunity for these companies hasn't gone away. And to me, this is the time that separates the great entrepreneurs from the undisciplined ones, because they are going to be careful with the cash that they have, and they're going to be building these businesses with whatever the right growth rates are for their companies based on the physics of their business. And we think those companies will be able to raise capital as and when they need it.
Hemant, I want to understand from you how much pain you anticipate we could see. We've already seen a fair amount of pain, especially layoffs being announced by the large, profitable tech companies. Do you believe that the worst is behind us, or is the worst yet to come?
I think the worst is really behind us. I mean, as I think through our own portfolio or all the interactions we have with CEOs of the large companies, I mean, folks have been taking action around these for the last 12 to 18 months. I mean, we went through a deep exercise in our portfolio last year, re-underwrote every company, and made sure they had operating plans that were more fiscally conservative and appropriate and profitably focused, as I said. So I think now it's a matter of these companies continue to perform with that fiscal conservatism, and honestly, some of them are going to have a hard time raising capital, and that's just normal. And if they're good businesses, they'll raise capital at the right price for the business and keep moving forward. I don't think the fact that there'll be some down rounds should deter the entrepreneurs, and I don't think it should deter the investors. This happens in the cycles when the bubbles burst, and the reality doesn't go away that most of these ideas and the technological transformation that many of these companies are working on is long-term quite robust.
Hemant, you said you're going to actively pursue opportunities that look good. But, at this point in time, just within the VC universe, there's a lot of dry powder that people are sitting on. Do you believe the risk appetite is starting to fire up again, or you think that it's going to be, at least through 2023, people are just going to sort of pause, take a breath, and see how this plays out?
Look, if you look at a multi-stage firm like ours, we're very active in the early stage part of the business. And on the growth side, these companies are still working through their operating plans, and growing into the valuations that they had from the previous rounds. I think everybody has been waiting for understanding where those multiples are to lie. We talked about interest rates earlier. That's another thing, which is what are the right multiples to underwrite these companies with is also unclear, because you don't know where the rates are going to stabilize. But I think as a lot of that normalizes over the next 9 to 12 months, this market will open up. There's a lot of dry powder out there. The very best companies are able to access it even today, and I think the rest will work through the system over the next year or so.
Hemant, I want to end with your India thesis, and I think this is something that a lot of people are grappling with at this point in time, and it's sort of taking its toll on valuations as well. It is a large market. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And every sector you talk about, the addressable market is large, but the monetizable market and the difference between the addressable and the monetizable market is fairly large as well. How are you looking at this divergence? And do you believe that we're going to be able to bridge this gap over the next 5 years? I mean, what is your thesis on that?
It's a great question. I think that's right. I do think we're going to be able to bridge the gap. I think if we just focus on the top of the pyramid and think of that as an addressable market because the budgets are higher there, then I think we're not going to end up creating a digital framework for the country that uplifts everybody. And so the question really is that for each segment, how do you think about building these businesses and thinking about the addressable markets in the segments? That's why we think about investing in software or fintech as much as resilience. I think building companies around things like ag tech and climate here and creating local supply chains is where the opportunity is going to be. And long term, we believe the GDP growth here and the per capita income will cross the line that makes the whole system work really quickly, just like it did in China from a technology adoption, innovation adoption perspective. And we don't think that's very far away. And so now is the time to build the companies that can take advantage of that opportunity over the next decade.
So Hemant, before I let you go, the themes that you see playing out through 2023, 2024, or the companies, both global and Indian, that look most promising to you, whether you're invested in them or not?
Look, I think themes, again, we're very interested in understanding AI. India has a huge opportunity there because there's a deep software hub here. And as the next generation of software companies get built, there's no reason why they can't start here. For this next technological shift, we think that's a big opportunity. I think, ag tech is quite interesting. We're seeing a lot of great entrepreneurs in climate. We're big believers that there's a lot of local opportunity across the globe around sort of building resilient, sustainable companies. And healthcare, in the U.S. there was a market failure, and COVID catalyzed a lot of change. We're working through that. We think a lot of that same opportunity exists here in India. We're trying to be cautious, not repeating the mistakes of how the healthcare system got built and scaled in the United States, and do it with a mindset of health assurance from the start here. So, all these areas are really quite interesting.
Well, Hemant, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks very much for joining us here on Young Turks. We hope you have a great trip here in India, and we look forward to seeing you in the Valley. But thanks very much for your time. That's it then on this edition of Young Turks from all of us here on the team. Goodbye. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. For now, it's a wrap.